are you being paid from that second?
No, we get paid from the general account.
Okay.
So, but that's not the only account. That one certainly got a balance in it. The 2020, 21, 50, and 55 are accounts that we're not using right now. So that's after 10,010, it's 10,020, 10,021, 10,050, 10,055. All four of those accounts are in Pioneer, and then we're not using them right now. Up to the board what they want to do with them, but you know, certain ones were earmarked for a certain funding round to keep track of the money.
Correct. I would say, you know, if your new funding rounds, if LBI money and or whatever's coming down the pike doesn't require separate holding,
They're all
Okay.
reimbursable, yeah.
right? If they don't require that.
Hmm.
And it's also for accounting purposes, right? Where what we have, because you know, you're gonna have to track what's general money, what's LBI money, because you're gonna have different requirements and different pieces for that, right? So if you have unrestricted funds, that's the word I'm talking, restricted and unrestricted monies, right? Restricted monies are the things that we can, you know, if it's 5 houses that we applied for, it's only gonna go to those 5 houses. If it's unrestricted funds, you know, and I think having those separate accounts is more transparent to the everyday or the people who are looking in our audience, you know, to see, okay, the land bank's got this money and unrestricted, this is restricted funding, you know, and I think that's the designation between the OAG grants. I would probably recommend maintaining that structure just for tracking purposes rather than dumping it into one lump sum.
Mhm.
The other piece
Yeah.
you could do is you could also see if there's some interest bearing accounts where you could put some money and
Novel.
get some interest.
Novel idea.
So that was, yes, so I totally agree with that. There's a reason why everything was separate because of audit. And, you know, if you get audited or there's ever a question for a grant, you have to produce all that. And you'd be producing your entire account for whatever that money's in. So we really don't want to do that from auditing perspective. Keeping it clean is much better. And when we opened the doors day one, that's what we did. This piece about the investment, you know, there's certain rules around investment policies and things. For the Public Authorities Office, we would have to look at before even doing a simple CD. So just keep me in the loop. But you can't just do it.
We should have a fairly simple policy that every account should have some associated documentation that defines what the account is for, why it was created, and under what conditions it would be closed. Like this account is for this grant, for this, like, you know, exactly what you were just saying, like it's restricted to X, Y, or Z. And then we don't have to, you know, this sort of long-term perspective, but we have to sit here 5 years later and go, what was that account for? And are we still using that for anything? And why is
Yeah.
I think we should have that.
There was early on
somewhere.
financial policies
Ah,
that, and I'm going way back to when Monica and I started this together, that we had. I just think it kind of fell by the wayside, and we haven't really had a governance committee meeting in years. So,
Yeah.
you
I'm on
know,
that committee.
it's out there, and it probably needs to be revised. So I'll put it on my list. But
yeah. I
there's
mean,
a
that's
lot
not
of
urgent.
things that need
Urgent.
to be revived, and so that the new staff understands, you know, and knows what we're talking about.
It's also a good piece to do for your annual meeting, right? We can tee it all up and then at the annual meeting, adopt the new policies and procedures.
Yes.
And just to clarify, like an account, say 10,021 OAG funding round 3, we would never put a round 4 money in a round 3 account. So we would probably create a brand new account for round 4 if there's a round 4.
So I'm wondering if you can just, because this is most likely an accounting title, you can probably just change the title.
But in QuickBooks, if I change the title and then you produce for round 4, then all of a sudden all your round 3 stuff is lumped
All
into
the
round
history
4.
would be.
Yeah,
pulled in.
that's true.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to keep history from different,
Maybe you can make it inactive like you were talking about some of those other things.
you could make it inactive on here, but they're still mailing us bank statements. So we wouldn't deposit the same money in the same account. We could just create a 10,022 account, OAG round 4 with the brand new account of Pioneer when they come out with it. If it comes out 6 months, a year, or 10 years from now. And then, because quite frankly, David Farstad at Pioneer is sort of asking me to do this. He had to reactivate the accounts and he said, but I'd like to deactivate them too. So
We have to keep an accounting, at least 7 years after the grant period closes. So, if we're not using the account, I suppose it's okay, to close it at some point, but we still have to maintain and have access to anything should we be audited by the grantor. I also, would just reiterate too, on the Capcom account, there's definitely an auditing period for ARPA as well. So, before we close or change any policies and procedures, let's just make sure we talk about it, because we have all these grants out there that require backup and may in some instances require us to obtain records before we close it so that we have them.
I understand. We just voted to close the PPP account though, but PPP was only 4 years ago. We have to maintain the accounts to be open for 7 years.
Well, do we have records of all of the transactions?
Yeah,
though?
everything's got to be audited financially.
And the
No,
banks
I mean, do we
presumably
have-
would still have the records as well, right?
Right, but
Even
do
though
we
the
actually
council
have
has-
the documents? Do we have the bank statements for that's what I would say. That's why I
Mhm.
said if prior to closing it, let's make sure we have the documents, like the account
The
statements.
first funding round of OAG probably was like what, 2012?
No, late 20, we didn't even open we
2014?
didn't even open the land bank till 2014.
Yeah,
So 2015.
right. And so I've seen binders that say 2015 on it, in paper copy. I didn't go through those.
No, I'm talking about these. I mean, I'm talking about the ones for the PPP. That's
Oh,
a recent thing. So
sure.
like if we just voted to close that, what I would do is when you go there, I would just say, if you don't have the statements
Yeah, they
already.
sent me all the statements.
Right. So if you have the statements, then you can use that for audit purposes.
Yeah.
Right. You can draw
Yeah.
that up. And then you have your accounting record in QuickBooks.
Mhm.
So that would substantiate it as well
Sure,
too.
sure.
So that's what I'm saying is that
Mhm.
if we do close something, let's just make sure we have all the 7 years worth of documentation.
So then I guess what I'll do is I'll look at these 4 accounts and find out the last time they were used and present it to the board next. I don't think there's a rush on it.
Okay.
Okay, the next two are connected. Board elections and a revitalization of committees. So we need to, I'm only acting director because I left and I was vice chair. Chair. I don't necessarily want to stay chair, but we need to have elections in general. We need a treasurer. Brian is our secretary if he'd like to relinquish that or be revoted. So we need a chair, vice chair, and a treasurer, and possibly a secretary. Doesn't have to be right this minute.
That was,
So-
yeah, I was gonna ask if, are we doing with intention to have that, right? I'm just at my expiration date, I gotta get it, so I just,
No,
is
so
intention to do that at this meeting, or just that we're gearing up?
No, just bringing it up that
So-
people can think about
Can
whether
I-
they want to do it.
can I make a recommendation that maybe we get a governance committee right now? Maybe see if there's some volunteers to jump on the governance committee, because that's what your first action is going to be in order to get to that next step.
Mhm.
That'll also help you with your board members.
I'll volunteer.
I'll be there as acting chair.
I'm happy to stay on it.
Three board members for each committee.
All right, we got 3: Andrew, Jamie, and Suzanne.
We'll start there, have those discussions going.
And then you can work with Brad to,
Yeah. Define the open. the
But it's
roles we
also one
need,
of
what
those
they're gonna-
things-
What the expectations are.
right. And it's also one of those
Sure.
things that, as we're talking about the school board stuff, right? Like, you guys can,
Yes. Seamus, before you leave, I I think we need 6 votes to pass up, correct?
What's that?
If I make a motion,
Yeah, I think so. That would be a good idea.
and I bring
Always
this
good to have
up,
6
I
votes.
would like to make a motion to put an RFP out for a new realtor. The reason being is because we are, the special meeting I missed last week to finding a list of properties, right? They're on the website. Brad put what's the name you called that price? You used the word,
Suggested price?
no, a price where not many people would
Yeah.
jump on them right away.
We want offers.
So what I would like to do is actually retain an active, in a perfect world, Troy-based real estate agent to actually give us a market opinion of value. If they're the same as Brad's, great, run with it. But this person can also take the pressure off us in the website, let them market it to builders, developers, owner ocs that already exist in the city that might not be using this mechanism as a way to get a new home. Nothing against Shirley, Sherry. I don't think we're offering her, this isn't her wheelhouse. Troy's not her wheelhouse, to be quite frank.
Well, so I'll second your motion so we can discuss it, what you're doing, but keep going.
Yeah, that's it. I just want to get this thing, it's already on the website, so I'd like to put an RFP
Did,
out.
did you say Shirley or
Sherry.
Sherry?
Sherry.
Is that our current realtor? or-
Yes,
She's a holdover for probably 5 years.
From here.
And a
Okay.
couple, I mean, I don't know exact number of years.
Do
but
we, so it's something that we already have,
No
we don't
contract.
have a budget, so, but it's something the land bank in the past has been used to paying a real estate agent to list properties.
It's all coming out, it's all coming out
So
of
it's-
proceeds.
yeah.
We had
Is
an
that a
agreement
commission?
though,
Yeah.
because like, it wasn't, I don't think the compensation was standard.
Right.
Because the lot prices are, you're 3% on a sale.
Yeah, yeah.
I suggest.
So I thought we had fixed rates for
So this-
some
there
things
were-
and.
Okay.
I
So it's
didn't
not
do
new,
it
it's not new for it's not
No.
new for
No.
us, it's
Put an
okay.
RFP
And
out.
obviously, this would just be approving, putting the RFP. We obviously have a say of the way the RFP is structured and so on.
Yeah, she was hired because of the MLS, being able to be on MLS.
Mhm.
And also, before we hired any real estate person, Tony was doing it. And that was just another thing they couldn't do,
Mhm.
run around
Mhm.
showing properties and this, and this. So she's the second person we've had. We had Greg Tobin before that.
Okay.
Yeah, he was actually, I think that was right before I left.
Yeah.
I suggest the people that respond to the RFP, come in and do a 5-10 minute presentation to the board after. Shoots from there.
Yeah, that's what we did last time.
That's nothing against Sherry. I don't think we've been getting product
And
here.
she can, or here.
She can
just
respond to the
RFP
RFP.
stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not like, no.
I'm gonna call the vote.
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, all of a sudden you're.
Most revisit those committee assignments.
Yeah, I was like,
Okay.
bitter end.
So we'll do committees and.
Yeah, something to think
executive
about.
board for the next
We
meeting.
have several committees that we need to re-up. We've got marketing, we have governance, we have auditing, financial, and acquisitions, A&D.
Mhm.
And I think that's it.
Kate, do we need to put a formal vote up for establishing the governance committee?
Yes.
So I make a motion to establish, reestablish the governance committee comprising of Jamie Mager, Andrew Cooper, and Suzanne Spellin.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're the committee.
Okay, that gives you the power to be able to do the work you need to do.
Okay, so think about if you want, what committee you want to be on, and everybody should be on at least 2. Other business. Board meeting,
Contain your excitement.
Back in Troy.
board meeting, October 16th, 2024. That's about it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Susan-
you. Thanks,
Suzanne.
Kate.
Suzanne, was that a suggestion